participants. Hope you understood what I discussed in the morning session with respect to smart grid. As I told, the smart grid means something comes to our mind is application of information and communication technology for the betterment of power system. So in that, transmission and generation sector are well connected and they were completely using information technology for the day-to-day operation of power system. The distribution sector is left out where we can concentrate more to improve the efficiency of the system. What is the problem of efficiency? Both technical as well as non-technical losses in the distribution system makes the system efficiency to be very poor. I will share the slide and then we will continue. So in the morning session, I completed at this point where I said the smart grid is better managing electricity usage and costs by the customers through real-time information exchange. Actually, the customers are not given much importance in the case of normal conventional system, and that you will be able to appreciate when you go to supermarkets and when you go to our ration shop. You will find the difference. In ration shop we go, we collect whatever they are providing. We can't select. But in the supermarkets, suppose if you want to buy rice, they will show you plenty of rice varieties. From there you will be able to choose. And the customer will be given full respect in the supermarkets. Just to try to enter into the cosmetics area where you will be able to see girls standing there. I mean girls or ladies, whatever it is. And they welcome you and they will give you demos how to use cosmetic items. Recently I'm experiencing all these things because I'm taking my daughter to the supermarket, and when she enters into this kind of area, people will convince us to buy their products. Say Himalaya, Lakme, different brand will be recommended by their representatives and we will be given importance. That will not happen when you go to a ration shop. That's why in ration shop we are called as consumers, but in supermarkets we are customers. The same difference you will get in the telecommunication. We are customers now. That's why we have customer service center. Even it is introduced by BSNL, customer service center. When it is introduced in 1990s, there were no customer center. When there is a competition, customer is given importance because you have to hold the customers. Similarly, for the electricity also we will become customers if there is multiple distribution companies. present in this system. Right now we are depending on TANGEDCO. Tamil Nadu is concerned. Assume you have two more distribution companies to feed power. Forget about how they are going to give power. I have only one connection, how they will do. We will not discuss those things now technically. Assume that we have three more power distribution companies and you are allowed to switch over from one company to other company if you wish. See, earlier when telecommunication was introduced, if you buy a SIM card, you will be using that. And people started switch over from one mobile company to another mobile service provider, say Airtel to Aircel, Aircel to BSNL, BSNL to Reliance. Later on, they introduced a scheme. You need not change your mobile number, but still you will be able to switch over from one company to another company. When that is possible, this is also possible. Only thing, we have to have a good control center to work out that. In the transmission sector, it is possible. Anybody can generate and anybody can draw power. Any state can draw power. Anywhere can be generated, as I said in the morning session. Who is coordinating? The control center is coordinating. Similarly, we should have a control center to coordinate all these things. Then we will become customer for the distribution companies, where customer importance will be given, and you will have different prices, even different tariff schemes, which can be chosen by the customers. This is the case which is expected in the outcome of smart grid. So why do we talk about smart grid now? Not only in the different countries of the world, in India also we have started. After 2010, there was more vigorous involvement by the government as well as by different utilities and policymakers, even private institutions, private companies. They are talking about smart grid and they wanted to have involvement in that. The last 10 years it is happening. The drivers, why we are talking all those things, the need for more energy. We need more and more energy now. Demand is growing. I want to increase my production. Conventional sources are depleting. So people wanted to have non-conventional sources. Government supports such kind of schemes. You can have large scale integration. Same time, you can have small scale integration also, rooftop, which is a part of smart grid. I will tell you why this increased usage of renewable energy becomes a part of smart grid. When you integrate more and more at every house, suppose if the installation is more than your requirement, first of all, you may ask, why do I do such a higher installation more than my requirement? If my requirement is 3 kilowatt maximum demand, I will install 3 kilowatt or 4 kilowatt, not more than that. Of course, now people are doing that just to reduce the electricity bill. When we say that there is going to be a business you can do by having your own generation and you can sell it to the grid, then people will start installing more and more if there is any profit. So during that time, when people are injecting power, which is a variable one, unpredictable, and depends on the behavior of the customer. So during that time, operation of the grid becomes very complex, where you need a lot of communication, lot of coordination. That is aimed to achieve in smart grid paradigm. Sustainability. The grid should sustain without any insecurity. There should be a reliable power. And infrastructure what we have now are aging, as well as workforce is also getting aged. Workforce means people working there in the electricity board, or they are getting aged, and many of them are getting retired at the same time. That happens not only in EB, in many organizations that happens. So now we are going to recruit new people. The new recruitments are not ready to work as the experienced people. The environment, they want different environment. See, before this pandemic situation, our classes were held in the regular classroom. Now we are doing online teaching. The freshers, this year, academic student freshers, I'm leaving other students because they already came for regular classes and they got changed over to online classes. So they may not like online classes sometimes. They miss their friends. But see, now the freshers who are entering into BTech, MTech, BE, whatever it is, they are offered online classes. Today morning, after this session, I was giving an online lecture to my own students, first year MTech. So they are starting their studies, higher studies with this online. So they don't see any difference. They don't find any fault in this. They like this. They will live along with this. They don't want to go back to the earlier system. After, if this happens for 3 or 4 months, and if you call them to sit in the class, they will feel difficulty sitting in the class because they will be getting habituated to this kind of listening. I'll say only listening, not attending, right? 11 o'clock, after completing this session, I was going to that class 11:15. I called to 2 or 3 students just to see their face. They woke up just before the class, 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock. They are attending the session, 2 or 3 classes continuously. They may listen, or this lecture is recorded. They may just log in and keep quiet. Later they may download the video and listen to that. So they are getting practiced to that. And people are saying online lectures are not good, online education will not be good. That is different. Every technology, every approach will have pros and cons, but they are getting practiced to that. Similarly, such kind of students, if they come to the field and if you ask them to work in the field, they may not do. They may not do. That is the reason why we have to change the technology in the field, which should attract the people. If no one is ready to go to look at the transformer, put the voltmeter and measure what is the voltage. If the same thing if I do in another way, some voltage sensor will be there in the transformer that will read the voltage, digitize, transmit it, and the engineer responsible for that substation can see the voltage at his mobile. You ask the present students, maybe students also may be there in this group, but I say, which one you prefer? Going to the transformer, putting the probe, measuring the voltage, that kind of job, or you will get the voltage at your mobile in real time. Look at that and you take a decision. Voltage is going low or voltage is going high, current is high, transformer is getting overloaded. So what should I do now? Okay, can I give an instruction from here itself to the staff sitting in the substation, or can I automatically control that? If I give these two options, the second option will be chosen by the youngsters. That's why, because of the infrastructure is also getting aged, workforce is also getting aged. So we have to refurbish both. So why don't we think about initiation of smart grid? A transformer is getting old, say, which is 25 years, 30 years it is working, and now the efficiency is very poor and something has gone. You have to build the capacity, you have to replace the transformer. Then go with new transformer with new technology. Workforce with a new technology. Recruit people who can handle that. But the new work group thinks that the mobile, the voltage comes, how do I read that? How do I modify that? That alone is sufficient. That is wrong. They should know how the transformer works, why there is a overloading, what should I do to reduce the overloading. That should be also known by that workforce. Only thing, the environment is getting changed, not going to the field. Remotely you will be able to take decisions, remotely you will be able to take commands. This is a driving force for many people to move towards smart grid. See, I used to tell my students, people think that this power system is very old and it is getting saturated. Of course, nothing can be improved in the flow of current unless otherwise you work with a material technology. But you can work on how the current can be measured, how the current can be monitored, how the current can be controlled, where you need to apply technology from other fields. So learn technology from other fields, apply to our field, then you are the superior compared to other technology developers. But they developed technology. You learned the technology and you are using the technology for our application. So you are superior. Similarly, the AT&C laws. What is AT&C laws? Aggregate, technical and commercial laws. It is 20 to 40%. Aggregate, technical and commercial loss in Indian transmission and distribution system is 20 to 40%. So we wanted to bring down. Commercial loss is different from technical loss. Technical loss is the loss which is happening in the conductor due to the current flow, say I square R loss. Commercial loss is different. Electricity theft, unmetered power supply, improper billing, all these things comes under the category of commercial loss. So which is 20 to 40%. and government wanted to bring it to 10%. You cannot play with the technical laws. That is very difficult. As I said, you need to play with the material. Otherwise, I square R loss is, if it's a copper wire of this much resistance, if X amount of current flows, then there will be a definite value of power loss that you cannot avoid unless otherwise you change the material. But you can identify solutions to reduce the commercial loss. That is what the requirement in smart grid. They wanted to reduce commercial loss as much as possible. And there are so many initiatives and government is giving a lot of funds. CACT has sponsored this workshop because this workshop teaches some concepts of smart grid. So they think that we have to make awareness among the public, so spend money to make awareness so that people can be gathered and they can learn. So every country is spending a lot of money on this. India also started smart grid task force in all the departments, electrical departments. Indian Smart Grid Forum in 2011, it was initiated. By this Indian Smart Grid Forum, you will have a lot of discussions, you will have a lot of resources about the smart grid related projects, implementations, challenges, everything. And working groups were developed, smart grid working group. Pilot projects are proposed by the government itself, pilot projects. It may fail or it may be a success, but still we wanted to try. Such initiatives in India are, first one is the National Mission, Jawaharlal Nehru National Solar Mission. By 2022, they wanted to have 20,000 megawatt of electricity by solar. And it has been enhanced to 100,000 megawatt, 100 gigawatt power from solar by 22. I think I said you by 2030 we wanted to have 250 gigawatt from renewables. See, by 22 we will be having 100 gigawatt from solar, then 150 gigawatt. Definitely we will have 100 gigawatt from wind, that is also growing. So we will be able to achieve the target by 2030. And another important mission for the utilities, electrical utilities, or this RAPDRP program. Anybody working in electricity board will be able to recognize this word, APDRP scheme, Restructured Accelerated Power Development and Reforms Program. In this scheme, they wanted to reduce the AT&C loss by employing any kind of technology, mainly adoption of information technology in the area of energy accounting, consumer care, strengthening of distribution network of state power utilities, very importantly. Please listen, the program is mainly for state power utilities, mainly for distribution networks. As I said, transmission networks are well equipped with monitoring system. And establishment of supervisory control and data processing systems, SCADA systems. SCADA systems to most of the substations, and establish control centers. Don't depend on state load dispatch center alone. Every district headquarters should have a load dispatch center. Every big cities having a distribution substations should have a SCADA center, control center. That is getting established now. And third point of our national mission is rural electrification. Very remote area where grid expansion is difficult. It is very difficult to expand the grid. One is difficult, another one is more expensive. That situations you can think about microgrids, where in the rural places, whatever the energy resources available, definitely solar will be available. In addition to any other resources can be combined to provide electricity to the rural India. The cost may be cheaper compared to expanding the grid to that particular place. Here where the private party can act, they can install their own renewable power generation and provide power supply to the rural place. For them it is a business, for the customers it's a service. Recently in Bihar, there was an installation of 15 kilowatt solar system, solar microgrid, which is connected to the consumers with every consumer is provided with 3 lights and 2 ceiling fans and plug points. This complete project is done by the private, I hope it is L&T. They can collect money, they can sell the electricity what is generated, because they are going to have only the installation cost, then running cost, there is no fuel cost because solar is used, only the maintenance cost and the staff, they have to pay for the staff members who are working. So in addition to the investment, they can collect from customers by fixing a price. So for that they used a lot of communication technology. So the bill, how much they are consuming per day, all the information will reach the customer's mobile. As I said, there was so many pilot projects done in India. One of the such projects is Smart Grid pilot project done at Puducherry, Pondicherry. It is a joint venture of Pondicherry government through their electricity department and Power Grid Corporation of India. They employed mainly these 3 things: automatic metering, renewable energy integration, and the third phase they wanted to have a smart city. So automatic metering they have done for nearly 1,000 number of houses were installed with smart meters, which will be able to transmit the readings, meter reading, to the data collector located at the substations or these transformers. These transformers are the distribution substations, right? And from there it will be transmitted to the data center, which is called as MDAS, Meter Data Acquisition System and Meter Data Management System. So they used 3G communication technology to do that. It was working very well. By implementing this, they were telling that the revenue increased, billing was very proper. In addition to that, they are trying to do a lot of issues. So here they used 3G technology. I heard that one of the northeast states, they have done this with the help of another technology called PLC, power line communication, for smart metering. This is growing in every state. Tamil Nadu also, I think, TANGEDCO has a plan to implement smart metering and automatic meter reading. First, they wanted to do at Chennai. During the month of March, when I had a discussion with some executives of TNEB, they were telling that they are trying to do within this year in Chennai. Maybe this pandemic situation might have delayed that, but there is a plan to implement this. So what smart meter do? Smart meters do automatic meter reading, remote connect and disconnect features. This connect and disconnect feature is the important one which has improved the collection efficiency. Because if the bill is delayed, the customer is not paying, they can disconnect it without visiting the customer premises. So once the power is disconnected, they will automatically pay, then they will reconnect it. Pondicherry Electricity Board engineers, they said that this one helped them a lot to increase the collection. And even we can introduce dynamic pricing scheme. The price of the electricity may change with respect to time, or otherwise we can call it as time of use pricing, TOU, time of use pricing. That can also be implemented. Then incentives can be given to the customers if they are accepting some request from the electricity board. Assume your area is provided with supply from a substation where you have two transformers parallelly working, say each 100 kVA. Suddenly there is a fault in one transformer. Then in order to rectify the fault, or in order to repair that transformer, that will be a minor problem which can be solved within 2-3 hours. They wanted to shut down power. So 100, it is supplying, say 150 kVA, both the transformers are sharing and supplying. Now one transformer is out of service. You have to provide power supply to the customers. The substation will be having, say, 5-6 number of feeders feeding different locations. Since one transformer is not working, the substation engineer will say, okay, disconnect 2 feeders, find out which area it is going. Okay, that area is not important, no problem, you disconnect. Nobody will raise any issue. And there is no important loads, just residential loads, so disconnect it. This is the situation now. But instead of disconnecting it completely, the utility wanted to introduce a scheme. All the 5 feeders will be on, but the utility will approach the consumers to reduce their loads so that they need not cut the power. If the substation disconnects certain feeder, then it is called as supply side control. I hope you remember in the morning session I used this word, supply side control. I don't want to have supply side control. I will make the customers to be active in the operation of the system. I can give a chance to them to reduce. So if everyone is ready to reduce some loads in their system, in their premises, then all the 5 feeders will be on and we will be able to service all the people with necessary loads. Unnecessary load, they will try to reduce themselves. But if I say orally that I call them, if I say all of you can reduce the loads, it will be useful for others, then nobody will do. Even you and me will not do. Why should I reduce? That's why they wanted to introduce this scheme, incentive scheme. You give some incentives if they reduce, then we will reduce. I will reduce, you will reduce, every one of us will reduce because I'm going to get incentive. Very simple. You are consuming 2 kilowatt. During that time, utility says you reduce it to 1 kilowatt, then the unit price becomes off. That is incentive. Anyway, they are losing, but other customers are also connected, so they will get the money. Same time, they are maintaining reliability to all the customers. So in order to maintain that reliability, they want to introduce this type of incentive-based scheme, which is called as demand response. They wanted to have demand response schemes in future. So that is possible if you have smart meter. So this is the control center, picture of the control center at Puducherry, which is shot long back. Now the building and the environment might have changed. Second phase, they wanted to have an integration of renewable energy, maybe at the large scale. An independent power producer can do this and he can sell energy to the people, or I can have my own rooftop solar system, battery, whatever the renewable energy available, I can integrate and run a system. So integration of renewable energy sources. What is the problem here is whenever the grid is present, the bidirectional inverter what is available here is going to follow the grid. It is going to follow the grid. When there is no grid, then it has to operate on its own. So you have to buy an inverter which will work with grid and without grid. See, solar inverters are sold in the market. They say grid interactive inverter. Such inverters will work only when the grid is present. If grid fails, even if you install 10 kilowatt solar panel, nothing will be used because the inverter will not work. They are grid following inverters. If the grid supply is there, then only that will work. So when you purchase an inverter, if you want to have off-grid operation, then you have to think twice and look into the design, look into the specifications. The inverter which needs to work both in on-grid and off-grid mode will be little expensive, because off-grid mode you have to generate your own reference and make it to work. On-grid mode, it will take reference from the grid voltage. So such inverters, suppose if you are on grid mode, there is no problem. Anyway, grid is there. Even if your load increases, which is not able to met by solar generation, grid will supply that. But in the off-grid mode, energy balance or power balance is very important. Whatever is the generation, only that much load should be connected. Otherwise, there will be voltage and frequency issue. So such situation should be handled by a controller. Definitely it should be a digital controller because that can act as so fastly. So this is the controller, what should be used. So there is a demonstration as a pilot project of Government of India through Power Grid. We have done a demonstration on this type of controllers. So which will be able to monitor power as well as manage the power in a standalone microgrid. So these are the hardware parts which I skip, and this is a monitoring screen where you will be able to see the complete information about the microgrid, how much solar power is generated, how much wind is generating, how much energy is available in the battery, all those things. Then coming to metering, we need a very good infrastructure. I said all the meter data can be collected at the meter data management system. But again, as I said in the microgrid controller, you need a digital controller and a communication. Here the communication, whatever we have used is Ethernet. You can see here Ethernet link between two controllers. One is controlling the loads, another controller is controlling the source. So in this, you need to have communication between the controllers. So similarly, in the meter data managing, how do you transport the meter data to the meter data management system? You need communication network. You need communication network. So meter to data center, data transfer is done. Data is transferred through communication network. As I said, in Pondicherry, they used 3G technology. In some northeast state, I remember it is Tripura, they are using PLC, power line communication. So it is an integrated system of smart meter, communication network and data management system where you can connect to any kind of consumers. We have some details about this. So advanced metering infrastructure can do automated and remote meter reading. It can help remote connection and disconnection. We can detect the outage. Outage detection is very easy. And finally, the tamper detection is easy in order to identify the theft of energy. Power quality can be monitored. Of course, I said only one side. That meter data can be measured. Voltage profile also can be monitored. Some of us may have a poor voltage profile at many times, which is not noticed by the distribution companies, because consumer is given less importance. But it is a quality problem. You should have a standard voltage, 230 volt. You cannot have 190 volt. Right? So if 190 volt is there, that should be known by us as a customer, and it should be monitored by the company. They should do immediately some rectification to get back the voltage to the original value. So monitoring of power quality is possible. Similarly, consumers are connecting any kind of loads in the system. We are all using all harmonic producing loads now. CFL lamp, LED lamps, mobile charger, laptop charger. You just measure the current of these devices, current drawn from the sockets. Sometimes some supplier might have taken care and the current may be sinusoidal, where you have to pay more money. If you buy cheap products, it is not going to handle the power quality issue. The current will be non-sinusoidal. So when you draw a non-sinusoidal current, actually you are injecting harmonics into the system. Of course, now it is not given importance to the residential loads. Only industrial loads, harmonic distortion is measured, and they are given penalty if they are not maintaining harmonics within the limit. It can be extended to the residential consumers too. So monitoring power quality is very important. And there will be a user interface through which consumers can see all these things. How much energy I am consuming, what is the cost of the energy what I consume, what is the tariff presently I have applied. Because we do not remember sometimes. I used to check in my mobile what is the plan I have adopted. Sometimes we forget in what plan we are. So if it is displayed to you, then we will be able to understand what is the tariff. Actually, if you look into the Tamil Nadu tariff, it is a very interesting. You will have block rates, but every block the unit price changes. So if you closely monitor and consume energy, you can save a lot of money monthly if you limit your total consumption within certain limit. You just absorb the TANGEDCO tariff for domestic, then you just think about this. And we can additionally connect an interface for controlling the loads. See, when I said demand response scheme is introduced, the smart meter will get a communication from the utility service provider that the customers are ready to reduce their load, they can reduce. But even I can have a automated system at my home. If such a request comes from utility, let the meter decide to switch off certain loads, which I think it is not important, it is not critical. Such loads I can prioritize, and the priority can be programmed into the smart meter, and this interface can control such loads. So such kind of system when we implement, it is called as Home Energy Management System, HEMS. And supply capacity control. I can have circuit breaker at the house that can disconnect the supply if the demand at the end user premises exceeds a set value. See, every customer is provided with some maximum demand limit. Actually, we should not consume more than that. According to Tamil Nadu Electricity Board, for single phase connection, it is only 4 kilowatt. You cannot consume more than 4 kilowatt simultaneously. So I was telling that we can provide different kind of tariff, flexible billing cycles. Everyone need not pay at the first week. Some group of people you can provide every first week they have to pay. Some group of people you can give third week of the month they can pay. So flexible billing cycle, I can choose. Suppose if you go to a bank and if you want to borrow loan, then they will ask when do you want to have your EMI to be taken. It can be 5th of the month, 10th, 15th, 20, 25th. We can choose. That depends upon our income. When it is coming according to the money flow, we can decide the date. Somebody used to have the first week of the month, they will have the salary with them. After that, they will spend. So they wanted to have all the EMI to be paid the first month. Some people, those who are doing business, they may have the money, good money flow in the middle of the month. So they wanted to have all the spendings in the middle of the month. So if the flexible, such kind of flexible billing cycles can be introduced when you have this kind of AMI. Then outage management is very easily or quickly done by the utility whenever you have this AMI infrastructure. As a customer, as I said, the billing improves. There is no problem. I will not be overcharged or the bill will not be reduced. Timely, I will get the bill. There won't be any delay. Then I will get different billing cycles, etc. And very importantly, there is no need of anyone, any meter reader to visit our premises. We need not allow the meter readers into our house to note down the reading. And we will get more payment options. That's what I said. And more comprehensive information in real time we will get. So that if you have good communication between the smart meter and your mobile, you will be able to see at the mobile itself. You need not see the interface available at the house. So this kind of information is very important to motivate some behavioral changes by the customers. That's why I requested you to look at the tariff of TANGEDCO and look at the energy consumption at your house. You can feel that if you change your energy consumption, sometimes you will be able to save some money. So this behavioral changes can happen if there is a communication between the meter and your mobile. So we have done certain study in the smart meter with Tamil Nadu tariff, where the electricity bill will be calculated every day, and bi-monthly electricity bill will be estimated based on the energy consumption and informed to the customers every day. So looking at that, the end payment may be 4,000 rupees, 4,500 rupees, and we can even suggest if you reduce your consumption by 2 units per day, your electricity bill will come to 1,500 rupees, 2,000 rupees instead of paying 4,000. Then people will change their behavior to reduce. So such kind of thing is possible and it can be introduced in these schemes. That is the time varying pricing, TOU, critical peak pricing and real time pricing. Electrical appliances. So this is what we wanted to have. Can all our electrical appliances, including rooftop solar, if I have any wind turbine, all these things should be connected in a communication network along with the smart meter. This is home area network. And the smart meter should transmit data to the data concentrator, which can be located at the distribution transformer available at the roadside. It will collect data from different smart meters, and through wide area network, it can send the data to the control center. You can see different technologies that are suggested for HAN, NAN, and WAN. HAN, we can use Zigbee technology, Wi-Fi technology, PLC can be used. For NAN, we can go for cellular, we can go for WiMAX, we can go for PLC. WAN, wide area network, when you want to transfer the data from data concentrator to the control center, you have to go for fiber optic or satellite cellular communications, where we can imagine Zigbee or Wi-Fi, because the speed, data handling, bandwidth, as well as area of coverage, they are important. And from the control center, they will have a local LAN through which this data will be shared among different servers. You want to monitor, you want to store the data, and you want to use it for future, for doing some prediction, we can do. So now people started challenging that when you do all these things, there will be a radio frequency exposure to the human body. Of course, it will be there. That is compared with the radio frequency exposure what right now we have with mobile phone. Taking the mobile phone, keeping the mobile phone at our ears, how much radio frequency emission will be there. That is taken as a measure of 1 unit, and smart meter is going to have only 0.0009 in this scale, radio frequency emission. So it is not harmful to the human being. That is also proved in some literature. So this kind of smart meter deployments and smart grid installations are going on in many countries. India is also one of such country, and we wanted to have all smart meter implementation. It is planned to have 150 million smart meters in between 2013 to 2025. These are the some picture or the snaps which I made from newspapers. Government says no more electricity bill to be sent to the consumers. It should be sent by the meter. And the pilot projects are installed in Puducherry. Then we have another pilot project in Bangalore. As I said, prepaid systems are introduced utilizing PLC technology. Prepaid meters are also announced. That is even included in the Electricity Act. We should have either smart meter or prepayment meters. So this is the smart meter I said, which is developed in the laboratory. Mainly the Tamil Nadu tariff has been tried, and this is a web portal for a consumer which can be browsed in the mobile or a computer. He will be able to see his voltage profile and load profile, and what is the present voltage, RMS voltage, what is the present power consumption, and you will have an energy consumption, per day energy consumption, and the rate of energy consumption, then predicted bill for the month. Then what kind of loads are on and off, that even can be studied. So later on, we are going to have a smart home like this, we will be inside our home, we will have different appliances which will be able to communicate with the smart meter, and we will have rooftop wind and solar, we will have electric vehicles. Now it is getting popularized, electric vehicles. Of course it is very expensive now. Maybe within the next 5 to 10 years we will be having low cost or affordable price for electric vehicle. And this will be connected to the grid, so power can be transmitted to the grid. So when we do all these things, I will skip few slides which are not required according to the topic what we are discussing. We are having a lot of challenges when we wanted to implement all these things. That is what the smart grid challenge, the topic of this, but I wanted to tell you what is the smart grid and expected thing. Then only we can appreciate what is the challenge we are going to face. The first challenge people are talking is cyber security and data privacy. Digital networks are prone to malicious attacks, as well as software hackers can hack the system. So when all the smart meters are transmitting data to the control center through GSM or through WiMAX, if I am good at hacking, I can hack the network and modify the meter readings. Instead of 100 units, I can change it to 1000 units. Meter might have sent 100 units, but data center will receive 1000 units in my name. So I have to pay more. But my device will show 100, but I will get the bill from electricity board for 1000 units. So this problem is going to be there. That cyber security issues. You can modify the data, or they can introduce some cyber attacks. When the meter is transmitting the data, they can make the congestion into the system so that the meter data is not reaching the control center. See, for billing, I don't want real-time data. Billing, I want the data at the end of 1 month or 2 months based on the billing cycle. And a time will be set to read the data. If that is known to the hacker, during that time he can introduce some kind of attacks like DOS attack, denial of service attack, which will cause the complete system to hang and data will not be reached. Bill cannot be raised. And at the same time, if you monitor a single meter, absorb the complete data, I have shown you, please, I will go back to that slide. I can see the power profile of an individual consumer. Say this is the consumption pattern of a single house. And I can make my own algorithm from this to if I know what are the appliances used by that particular house, I can easily identify what appliances they have used at what time. This is made by one of our students from this reading, current reading, and knowing that what are the ratings of the current of the load available at their house. Then every day whenever they use that load, just doing the signature analysis, he will be able to identify that particular load has, for example, say air conditioner. Air conditioner is switched on from 7 p.m. to say morning 7 p.m. It indicates that people are sleeping. That will lead to other unwanted activities. So this can be done by the hackers. The known people may become a hacker. Nowadays, criminals are not new people. The criminals are always the known people. So a person who is very close to you will know what are the electrical and electronic appliances used by you, and then he can prepare a mathematical algorithm and hack the nature data and identify what are the appliances you are using, and he can guess the behavior, and he or she, I'm sorry, can do or involve in the any malpractice. So we have to avoid. So this is the thread in front of us. Though the technology has a lot of advantages, we have cyber security and data privacy. I'm not saying this is a problem, this is a challenge. You have to face this and provide protection. You have to improve your security. See, when you do banking through mobile banking or online transaction, there is a lot of issues, but it is handled day by day by the banks. Now even ATM transaction, you get OTP. If transaction is more than 10,000 rupees, SBI introduced OTP. So without your mobile phone and OTP, you will not be able to take from ATM. That is a security provided by them. Because there is a threat, we can't avoid the technology. Always there will be a threat, but then only there will be a research and people will identify a solution for the threat. Then people can enjoy technology. Then policy and regulation. There is no defined standards available now. I go for 5 more minutes. Even though I was late, I request the participants to stay tuned to the lecture for 5 more minutes. So, policy and regulations. There is no defined standard available, particularly for smart grid. For example, if you want to, I am a utility person, I want to install smart meters, then I will, depending on a vendor, he will provide me the meter as well as a software tool to read. I may order 1,000 meters. After 1 or 2 years, I wanted to have some other brand. And if I go for another brand, I want to integrate with this, that will not work. That person will say, new meter vendor will say, no sir, your software is having certain issue, I can't integrate with that, so you change the software. The old person will say, no sir, we closed our company, there is no support from us. That will happen. So for that we need some standards. Interoperability should be there. I should buy from any vendor. It should satisfy the interface. Now it is not there. See, like USB, HDMI. You buy any laptop, HDMI port means HDMI port. USB means USB. It does not vary between HP and Dell. Port is the standard one. Similarly, every meter should have certain standard of communication, certain standard of data format. Right now, it is not there. So that should be enforced. That is the challenge. It is a challenge, but it will happen. You have to handle the challenge and make the standard. For everything, it is, when substation automation was introduced, there was no standard. Later on, they introduced standard. Some of you might have heard IEC 61850 standard, which is the substation automation standard. So any equipment manufacturer makes the product for use in the smart substation, they should satisfy the standard. Otherwise, they cannot sell their product. That situation should come for the smart grid related products also. Then cost. Now it is more expensive. Like electric vehicle, you and me cannot buy the electric vehicle now. Maybe two-wheeler we can buy. Four-wheeler is more expensive. But we are expecting in near future, definitely there will be electrical vehicle in the market. So prices will come down. Everyone will have an electric vehicle. We will connect at our home, charge it, as well as we can discharge it to the grid. That is also another project of smart grid. How do you use the energy in the electric vehicle? So in order to establish all this infrastructure, definitely there is a cost involvement. That is a challenge. Then fourth one, lack of awareness. Many people do not know what is this smart grid. Of course, if that is the case with you, I feel I might have introduced some concepts of smart grid to you. And you can take away this and explain others what is meant by smart grid. Even the utility people, they think that you just implement smart meter at various houses. That is smart grid. It is not. After collecting the data, they have to build some application on the data. Just remote reading, okay, only for billing. That is not smart grid. After collecting the data, they have to use the data for certain purposes. They have to close the loop. Then only the vision of smart grid will get completed. So we have to make everyone aware of what is smart grid. Policymakers and regulators. Who are that? Policymakers and regulators. The administrators, district administrators, electricity board administrators, ministry people, they should be aware of these technologies. Technology means I am not telling that they are going to manufacture smart meter, but they should know what is smart meter, what is the advantage of that, what is the disadvantage of that, what is this scheme, all those things. Once it is known, then this will go as smooth as possible. Thank you. Thank you for your attention. If there are any queries, I'm happy to take up. Else, at any point of time, you can mail your queries to me. The mail ID is selvanmp@nitt.edu, which I will put in the chat box. Which meta-heuristic algorithms are essential to optimize smart grid operation? See, meta-heuristic algorithms are algorithms, that's all. You can choose anything, whichever is applicable to you. The problem is very important. How are you presenting the problem into a mathematical equation? After that, we can select the algorithms looking into their advantages and disadvantages. We can choose. So there is no rule that this particular meta-heuristic algorithm can be used for solving this kind of problem. Next question from Shanmuga Sundaram. Whether possible to deregulate the smart grid? See, deregulation is already done. That is the process which is already done. Debundling. Smart grid is not deregulation. It is the technology to operate the system. Deregulation means, by the name you can understand, it is a regulation is splitted into different parts. Deregulation. So transmission distribution is now unbundled. Then different changes in the regulations are made. The one change is introducing private power producers, private discoms. That is what. So deregulation in smart grid is not. Smart grid is separate. It is a technology evolution. It is not with respect to regulation. Another question by Chaitanya. How model predictive control theory can be applied to smart grid environment? Yes, you can use model predictive control theory for doing some voltage regulation applications, frequency regulation applications. You can use model predictive control theory. But when you go to the smart grid and when you want to achieve everything in automation, the commands will be sent over communication. So there may be certain issues through this cyber security issue where you can have a better model and model predictive control to do that. For regulatory applications, frequency regulation, voltage regulation applications, you can employ model predictive control theory.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your elaborate introduction about smart grid, and the participants are having some idea in which area they can do their projects or research, and they can find solution to their existing grid so that our conventional grid can be converted into smart grid. Thank you for your presentation, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to interact with the participants.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. We'll meet again, sir. Thank you, sir.